My name is Marissa Lindsay. I'm from the City of Marion, and we are joined today by three of our advisors from the Southern Business Mentoring Program. Our General Business Advisor, Amanda Wood, our General Business and Strategic Marketing Advisor, Martin Pike, and also our Digital Marketing Advisor, Fiona Blinco. Excuse me. So today the setup will be each of our three advisors will have 10 minutes to just give you a general presentation about their discipline, and then we'll open it up for Q&A around questions that you may have for any of our advisors. And then following the session, my colleague Lisa will be in contact and she will set up an appointment for you with each of the three advisors who can run through with you your business ideas or what you are looking to achieve. So I will hand over to our first speaker, Amanda. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Marissa. Are we in the right room? Are we talking about starting a business today? There's a lot to talk about in starting a business, a lot to think about. Some common questions that I get from startups. When do I jump? When do I quit my job and go full-time in the business? You know, what regulations apply to me? Where can I get a grant to start my business? What structure and resources should I have? Most common one that I would say I get is, how can I attract customers or more customers to my business? And the answers to all of those are different. The answer, in fact, is usually it depends on what sort of business, where you are, what you want to do, where you've been in life, all those things. Some of the success and failure factors in business, which sort of give you a bit of an insight as to what you need to do. Planning and budgeting. Businesses that plan for their success and know where they're headed tend to succeed. Those that fail tend not to have done any of that, quite commonly actually. But some help is available in that area. Various advisors would be able to provide you with templates and suggestions and advice about how to go about planning and budgeting. Research will help you to produce an effective plan. Your accountant can help with budgeting. Finance, having access to and using appropriately money to get your business going. People often overlook making sure that they've got some money to back themselves up to start their business. You'd be surprised how many people have no money and want to start a business tomorrow. So you do need to have a little bit. You don't need a lot for all businesses. Some businesses you'll definitely need a lot, but you do need to have a little think about how you're going to cover the costs of setting up the business and getting it going. You might want to, think about bootstrapping, which is, getting by the skin of your teeth, having a small bank to start with, and then paying for extra resources as you grow. Using some of your savings, getting a loan from mum and dad or a friend, going to the bank, getting a grant, investors and budgeting and so on, all help in that regard. Coming up with a business model that works. And what do I mean by a business model? A business model is really the unique way you arrange your resources to help access a market or solve a problem or problems for a particular market or customers. In other words, what value are you going to deliver and who are you going to deliver it to and how and when? Thinking about those things are useful things to do. I work with a thing called the business model canvas, and that can help to really distill a clear picture of where you want to go in the future and how to create that value and deliver that value. Identifying a strong market opportunity. Really, who'd be thinking about starting a business unless you could really see a strong market opportunity out there? And when I say market opportunity, it's really about what problems there are that exist out there that you can solve, and and for who. These are all clues really to where we can dig and think and act to form our business. Developing the necessary skills and knowledge. You need a bit of drive and ambition and a desire to learn to start up your business. You need to learn a lot when you're starting up a business, potentially. If you're not coming from the same industry, or if you're coming into something brand new, you've got a great groundbreaking idea, there's still going to be a lot to learn to navigate your way forward, to connect with customers and suppliers and all of those other things. So you really need to be open to learning and being connected through networks or advisors is a really helpful thing to think about doing. Whoopsie, just go back. Then managing risks and responsibilities. This can, help you succeed or fail too. Being aware that there are risks in any business, whether it's a risk of running out of money or a risk of, your building burning down, like happened to a number of people earlier this year in the bushfires. There are all sorts of risks and responsibilities that we have, health and safety responsibilities for staff and so on. Many a business has been brought undone by not effectively managing their risks, insuring against their risks, having a plan B if in case things go wrong and so on. So, all of that's really incorporated in, or should be incorporated in a good, strong business plan to get you going to start with. When I'm talking about budgeting, what am I talking about? This is just a quick example of a cash flow budget for a business. This is a one-page version. There are all sorts of other versions you might come across, but as you think about starting your business, it's a good idea to think about, well, what do I reasonably expect that my business will deliver me in terms of income? And in the top section of something like this spreadsheet here, you would list, what sales you expect in month 1, month 2, 3, and so on. And then what expenses, costs might I expect to be required in those months. And you might find, especially when starting up, that your sales is going to be quite low or zero, and you have expenses that you need to, money that you need to spend before you've made any income to pay for it. So that's where that gap that I talked about, that funding, you need to think about, do I need a loan? Do I need to access my savings? How am I going to get this off the ground safely, paying for everything I need to pay for, and then moving forward, how's it going to keep funding itself? Am I going to make enough money, through sales by having a good growth plan to cover all the expenses that are likely to come along? I won't go any further on that one, but that's just an insight to a bit of budgeting. I can't show you a full business plan here, but there are all sorts of shapes and sizes that a business plan might take. I have a preference myself for using one-page business plans, but I do think that there's a good value in going through a robust business planning process if you're really serious about your business. And this is a snapshot of what the contents of your business plan might include. Your general business issues, all about the market, the future and the vision and the finances and so on. And as advisors, we can show you or give you some insights to some of those issues in a session. Next, what have we got? I talked about solving problems for customers. It's a good idea to think in terms of or identifying an ideal customer, and an ideal customer might be someone who has hopefully quite an urgent problem, because really if someone's got a problem but they don't really have an urgency to solve it, then they're not likely to spend money on it. And when I say problem, I mean a need or whatever. I tend to use the word problem. But yeah, you want to identify some somewhat urgent problems that you can solve better than anyone else can, and for people who will readily pay you to solve that problem. And they'll be an even more ideal customer if they might tell others that you solved their problem. And even better, if they're likely to buy again, become a loyal customer. So that's what we're fishing for out there, an ideal customer that we can solve problems for and make money from. I'm just going to skip that other one. Another common question, sorry, I told you I was going to be going into a few different areas. Common question I get is, where can I get a grant to start my business? And really, in reality, there are very few grants available to business starters, but there are some. And but if you want to access grants, they'll usually come with some strings attached. You'll need to meet certain criteria, you'll need to provide certain information, and you'll need to provide a compelling case as to why you should be given that grant money. There is a good resource on business.gov.au to search for grants that might be available, and it depends on what industry you are as to whether there's going to be much around or not. There really, really, in reality, are very few grants available to business starters, unless you've got, as I said, that really, really compelling case. But we, as advisors, we can talk to you more about what's around. There are some small grants, for example, council grants are available through Onkaparinga and Holdfast Bay at the moment. So if you're in one of those council areas, I could talk to you about that, or Martin. But yeah, we can help you improve your chances of winning a grant, if that's what you wanted to talk about in a session or something. But business.gov is a good resource, so I encourage you to have a look at that. Key resources, business.gov. Commonwealth Government is the business.gov is a Commonwealth Government platform. Also, the Australian Business and Licensing Information System is a really good one to check what regulations and licenses apply for your business. That's also a common question I get, actually. What do I need to comply with in my business? And that one will give you some good insights. Councils have all got some interesting resources for business. As I said, a couple of them have got some grants, but there are also networking opportunities and so on. State government have a really interesting booklet. I encourage you to have a look at this one down the bottom here. Because this is being recorded, you'll probably have to type that out, I guess. You won't be able to sort of fast link from it, will you? But anyway, it's a really great guide to starting a business. It's a really useful resource, and lots of my clients have really gotten a lot out of it. If you need help with leasing a premises or a whole range of other things, that booklet's a go-to for me. This is a snapshot of the sorts of other supports there are around for you as a startup or a small business. This is an out-of-date example, but it's just to illustrate that there are a lot of organisations out there that can help in different ways with getting your business off the ground and growing and so on, helping you to network and learn and everything. And we can help point you towards some specific resources if you need them. Okay, so that's me, and that's my booking link.
Okay, well, yes, thank you everybody for joining today. My name's Martin Pike. I'm, like Amanda, one of the general business advisors, and I also have another specialist area in strategic marketing. So today I want to talk about three things. Three things that I believe are critical to getting a business up and running off the ground they're sort of part of your ammunition to go to market. The first thing is, I think, touching on what Amanda said about energy in a business, every business that I've seen that's successful really understands its passion, what its core purpose is all about. There's a bit of a saying around in the business traps that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So if you don't know why you do what you do, how can you expect your customers to know that? In sort of articulating that business plan, I sort of had this thing that says, right, it starts with the why. And I think any business owner, startup should be able to say why they do what they do, how they do it, and the how is the thing that makes your business special or unique or has that sustainable competitive advantage. They're sort of terms that we use about a business, because if you don't have that thing that makes you unique and different, it makes it very hard to stand out from the pack, from your competitors. You've really got to give that people a reason to be part of your tribe, part of your customer base that want to be part of your business. So that you need to know why you do what you do, your how, or your unique selling proposition or your competitive advantage, and then you can talk about what you do. So most people, when they market their business, they talk about what they do. And what I want to suggest is let's change that narrative. Let's start from the inside out about your purpose, knowing why your business exists, then how it exists, and then you can talk about what you do. So here's some examples that I thought I'd share with you with clients that we've worked from. So the first one is, here's a why: we believe children grow safely in this world. Okay, that's why this business exists. How they do it is that they are trusted advisor relationships to promote child protection and parent education. What they actually do is they do cyber safety audits and cyber safety plans for business. Okay, so rather than just going to the market and saying, I'm really good at cyber safety audits, or I'm really good, I think one of you does literacy and numeracy skills, is that right? Yeah. You can say what you do, but if you communicate to the market about what you believe, you'll then find that you'll come across customers that believe the same as you. And that's what drives engagement between you and the business. Okay, what you're offering, or what, as Amanda says, what problem you're solving, or what kind of value you're trying to add to people's lives. They're more about feelings than about actions. So there's some other examples here. I've had a lot of work with allied health people, like physiotherapists. Feel great, be active and achieve your best. That's why they exist. What they do is they're physiotherapists. There's a very successful firm in Melbourne, in physio, who their whole marketing strategy is we help seniors stay safe, happy and mobile, right? So that, to me, is much more powerful than saying we provide physiotherapy services for seniors. So you can see the difference, how the narrative changes. So one of your homework from this session is to see if you can put down your why, your how and your what. Okay, so that's sort of the first thing I wanted to talk about, understanding your purpose. There's an old guy, he's been around for a long time, called Simon Sinek. If you were to YouTube Simon Sinek The Why, it's about an 18-minute video. I suggest writing that down. That'll give you a bit of an insight into how to help work out the purpose of what you believe your business is about. Okay, the second thing I wanted to talk about was around building a relationship of profit with your clients. Okay, so in marketing, what we're trying to achieve here is some type of exchange of value, because that's what business is about. You give something, people give you money back. Okay, it's a relationship of profit. They also might give you other things that back. In other words, your opportunity to fulfill your purpose in life, your own why, or your opportunity to work with people you want to. But there's always in business this relationship of exchange of value. And that exchange has to be an exchange of profit. And I think one of the biggest faults I see startups generally do is they undervalue the service they're offering. They run with a price point that's too low. Okay, so why that's a failure for a business relationship is that if you don't build a business model that's sustainable, in other words, charge a price that allows you to pay your bills as and when they fall due, to pay yourself, to pay your running costs, to do all the good things that you need to do to help your clients, then that relationship of profit fails. Okay, so I think that's a really when you're going into making an offer to the marketplace, just have that checkpoint and ask yourself, is this a profitable relationship for my client, and is it a profitable relationship for me? If it's not, then generally I see small business fail. Okay. All right, so you might have to think about ways of, right, I need to increase my price point to make this worth my while. How am I going to increase my value to the client? And there's a lot of, so then I'll go into the third thing I want to talk about is your marketing program with a client, with a business, okay? And I break it down, marketing, into 5 areas. The first step is about generating awareness, okay? And they're all the tools that are available, and I've seen there's some questions there about, do I go online, do I use social media? Fiona will give you some insight into the digital space. But it's whatever's relevant to your marketplace. There's no magic answer. Like, I'm pretty, as you can see, I don't have much hair left these days. Back in the day, everyone said you had to be in the yellow pages and you had to have a full page at the front, and it was going to cost you $12,000. And that's a matter of rhubarb to me. That's like, it's all about what is relevant to your marketplace. In other words, you want to put your brand out there, your name out there where your customers are hanging out. And I'll leave a bit to Fiona to pick up on that side of it. The second step then is first stage inquiry. So first stage inquiry is the customer says, hey, I got a bit of interest in you. I like what you're talking about. Let's keep talking. So that's where you got to ask yourself, what information am I going to share with my customer when they first start talking to me? So that could be what's on the homepage of your website, or it could be when you take a phone call. The whole idea of first stage inquiry is to generate enough curiosity and interest with the customer that they say, yes, I want to keep talking. I like what your business is about. I like the narrative or the conversation you're having with me. Let's keep talking, which then takes us to the third stage, which is about your business proposal. So if you're a retailer, it's easy. Your product sits on a shelf, it's got a price point, that's easy. But most of your service providers, you have to put up some type of proposal that reflects what you're offering, that's in tune with what value you're trying to exchange with the customer, or as Amanda says, how you're going to solve their problem. Okay? So step 4 of your marketing program is then about the actual enablement, how you deliver your product. Because it's not just the physical delivery of your service that matters, it's setting the client up for success before you meet with them. It's making sure they're prepared and ready to engage with you. It's what customer service is attached to your product. How do you mitigate risk for the customer? When we say how do we de-risk, that could be through a warranty or a guarantee, or how does, when things go wrong, how are they going to feel safe by being with you? Okay. And then the 5th part of that marketing program then is your relationship building. Because once you've got a customer, there's 3 things you want them to do. You want them to rebuy, the 3 R's of business. They rebuy, in other words, find something else to sell to them. They refer you to others, right? And they recommend you, okay? And that's where you get your testimonials and you get their stories shared in the marketplace to promote word of mouth advertising. Okay, so there's sort of the 3 things that I wanted to talk about. Just to recap with the slide, it starts with the why. So make sure you know what you do and why you do it. And then if you know why you do what you do, then maybe people will buy you. The second thing then is to make sure you have a relationship of profit in the marketplace and you're charging the right fee, and don't undervalue what you do. That's what it's a big trap. And then the third thing is to have a marketing program based on those 5 steps. So I hope that gives you a bit of a snippet, and they're the types of things that we dive into in our marketing session through the advisory program. So thank you.
Hello everyone, my name's Fiona and I do the digital marketing side of things. And often when we talk about digital marketing, probably marketing more broadly, but certainly it comes into the digital marketing space, is there are so many options. And it reminds me of the saying, how long is a piece of string? Or in this case, how long is a ball of string? I could be doing this, I could be doing that, I could be doing this, I could be doing that. And that seems to be a question that comes up a lot in my sessions. What should I be doing in terms of my digital marketing? And I'm going to hone in some ideas for you on that one as we go through this. My next slide, I'm pretty sure, is attributed to you, Martin. This is, if I get this right, yeah, there we go. So Martin actually said to me once, and I loved it, Martin, that I now use it. I hope you don't mind. So in digital marketing, a lot of people will go straight to, as their first port of call, social media, Facebook or Instagram or something like that. And, there's nothing inherently wrong with that, because those platforms can work for some businesses and work exceptionally well. So that's great. But there tends to be this de-emphasis on having a website. And that could be for budget reasons, that getting a website up and running costs you money, whereas getting a Facebook page doesn't cost you anything. So that could be part of the play. It could be that getting a website is just technically harder to get your head around. How do you do that? But in the end, whatever social media channel you are on is subject to their news feed cycle. And your customers and your clients will see snippets of who you are. They might see something about you on Tuesday, they might see something else about you on a Sunday, and they might see something else about you on, the next week, which is great, because that is great awareness building and you can get some sales directly from that. But if they're getting a bit closer to the purchase decision, often they will need to go to a place that shows you in your full your complete set, and a website allows you for you to determine what they need to see about you and the services you're offering or the products you're selling. So Martin's thing that he said to me was, the website is like the sun, and your marketing channels, which could be social media but could be other things, are like the planets going around the sun. So your website, in terms of your online presence, is really in the center there, and other things are going around the website and hopefully moving people to get to your website, because your website will be usually more authoritative and really put you in a higher professional light than some of the other marketing your other marketing channels. So just want to put it out there that the website is, generally speaking, for most businesses, your most important digital asset, your most important online asset that you have. And I would work towards getting a website if I was starting a business. Popular website platforms, there's loads, there's literally hundreds, but the ones that you've probably heard of mostly are Wix, Squarespace, WordPress, and Shopify. These tend to be currently the most popular. In 5 years' time, there'll be another list of popular ones, I dare say, because they go a little bit in and out of fashion. If you're intending to build your own website, then Wix and Squarespace is probably the two that you'll look towards. If you get a website developer to do it for you, they're more than likely going to be using WordPress. They might not be, but WordPress is very popular amongst website developers. And if you're doing an e-commerce shop, you might go to something like Shopify. So that's kind of just gives you a bit of a sense of what the website platforms are out there. You can't really get a free website completely free without either having branding of the actual, like it will have Wix branding or Squarespace branding, not your branding, their branding, or adverts, or you won't be able to have your own web address, your own domain name. You'll have to have a funny looking web address. So really a free option for businesses who want to look professional is not really an option. In the end, you're going to have to part with some money somewhere down the line. This one is a website that I don't actually like the look of. I don't like the design of it. And it's just one element of a website that I thought would be to describe images. This is a tested case study. And so this has actually been measured. And as you can see, it's a USA one. And the one on the left is exactly the same as the one on the right. And the only exception is the photograph. Here you see a man and a woman lifting boxes. They've got a white background. Here you see the team members or the staff members from Harrington's Removal with their polo shirts on in front of either their truck or their office. I'm not too sure whether it's in front of a truck or an office. And their conversion, in this case, their conversion, what they're calling this is how many people fill in the free quote form. So that's what they want to get from this website, is they want people to fill in this free quote form. And let's say, for example, 100 people go to this website and 10 people fill in the free quote form. That would be 10% of people. That'd be a very high conversion rate. It's unlikely to be that high, but it's easy for the maths. So the only difference is in the image. And by using this image, there was a 45% increase in people filling in that free quote form. So in that last example, it was 10 people, but with this new image, it would be probably around 14 or 15 people. And just the moral of that story is images matter. Images matter on websites, and the more of these stock images you use, and this is what this is called, it's called a stock image. You can buy them for use, you know, lots of people buy them, and sometimes you have to use them, but nothing beats a real image on a website. So if you are looking at making a website, your images are really important because that's what people connect with. It gives that emotion to your website. So wherever possible, use real images. Now, there's lots of little tips I could give you about websites, but I just thought I'd keep it to that one for now as a bit of a takeaway. One of the things we do with our marketing and our online marketing is try to get website visitors, because if this website is so important and it shows who you are and what you do, and you've invested time and or money into getting a really nice site up, the next thing you want to do is actually try to get people there so that they can see who you are. And you can do that through numerous ways. And I think Amanda and Martin have both said, you know, how you do it is highly dependent on who you are and what your business is. So there's no one size fits all. Business cards and networking I've got at the top there. That's just to acknowledge that you won't get website visitors. Yeah, not all your website visitors are going to come through digital or online methods. And in fact, your face-to-face, your recommendations, your referrals, your word of mouth, your networking, whatever you do in that space is still super important. And in most instances, for most small businesses, will still outrank whatever you do online. So you can have the best social media channel there is and do really great. But in the end, who you know and what you're doing at a personal level is probably still likely, not always, but still likely to outrank and build and grow your business better than your digital channels. And there's a few different reasons for that. One is because digital is really hard to do, if nothing else. But you can use things like Google advertising. You can pay Google to be seen at the top of page 1 of Google for your search terms. You can pay for that. And it's generally not as expensive as you think. I don't know what you think it is. You might not give it any thought, but it's generally not too expensive. You can use search engine optimization or SEO, which is a way of getting on Google without paying Google, because Google thinks your website deserves it. It believes your website is the best one for that person to see. That's a long-term strategy, pretty difficult. You can use email marketing, you can use Facebook ads, and there's a whole range of other things you can do. And this is how long is a piece of string? You know, how do I know which one of these to choose for my business? And that's a little bit of another webinar, but we will get a little bit into that. One of the common questions I get is if people say, well, if I do Google ads or I do Facebook ads, because they are the two big players in online advertising now. So if you're thinking of one or the other, usually it comes down to this decision making. Are you interrupting someone's, is your product or service a bit more discretionary? Is it fashion or travel, or is it on somebody's wish list? Is it sort of that little optional extra they could do if they just sort of had it in front of them and they knew about it? That tends to suit Facebook a little bit more, because you're interrupting what other things they're doing on Facebook. Whereas if your product or service is practical and it's needed, you know, and somebody really does go looking for it because they really do need that, so they need to go searching for it, then that sways you on the side of Google advertising. So just as a general rough outline, that, you know, if you're choosing between those two, which is a common question I often get between those two. So let's think about housekeeping versus strategically important. And this comes back to this ball of string. How long is a ball of string? And frequently I find people want to do too much, and it's not going to be helpful to you. It's unlikely to be helpful to you for you to be on Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, and then do some email marketing, and then you're going to do some SEO, and then you're going to do some Google ads. I mean, you're just not going to do any of them well if you spread yourself too thin. And so sometimes you've just got to put your marketing, what I call housekeeping mode, so that with your digital marketing, if you have a Facebook page, but you decide, I don't think it's really going to get me new clients, but I feel like I really have to have one because everybody's got a Facebook page, and so I better have one. Maybe you just, if you really feel like you need to have it, just have it in housekeeping mode. Post up once or twice a week, once a week, and that's it, just so people know you're in business. But if Facebook is strategically important for your business and it can grow your business if you're in the right business and you do it well, then you are punching out, you're making groups, you're live streaming, you're posting every day, you're responding to people, you're going out to other Facebook pages to check in on them and just say hello on them. I mean, you are really actively working that channel if it is strategically important to you. So when you're doing your digital marketing, you know, to try and do everything, I think, is a mistake. And if you do intend to do more than 2 or 3, then I think you've got to start talking about, well, that's just in housekeeping mode. So let's have a look at what housekeeping and strategically important might look like. I'm using the example of a non-digital thing here just because I think it exemplifies it easy. Here's an A-frame sign. Okay, this is just a bog standard sign on the side of a road that a business has. But here's another sign. Same business, and it's looking a little bit bigger now, isn't it? You couldn't really miss that, and you definitely couldn't miss that one. There's the sign, and here's all 3 together. They've got a car, they've got a big thing up there, they've got something on their roof. Signage, they've decided for them that signage, I believe, is strategically important. They've put that up a level. They've really said, and I'm going to do it really, really well. So, you know, this is housekeeping for signage. If you decided that you had to have signage for your business, but it wasn't that important, housekeeping, just stick an A-frame. That is something strategically important. And this plays out in the digital world. And I don't think there's a lot of, you know, understanding of this, but if you're doing Google ads and you decide, oh, I just spend $200 and I just put a Google ad up and it doesn't work for you, many people come back to me and say, oh, I tried Google ads, it didn't work. Well, you might not have done a very good job. You know, really, because it's actually hard to do it well. So, you know, you to actually play the game in the digital sphere, you need to be better than your competitors on whatever channel you choose. So really, you know, I would be encouraging you to spend at least 6 months, possibly up to 12 months, on any one of these channels that you see as strategically important and really giving it a good red hot go. So the modes that I see in digital marketing is don't do it all, or put it in housekeeping, or allocate it to strategically important. And not that this is entirely true, but I do find that, especially for social media, I find this true. People say, oh, I'm going to get onto Facebook and Fiona, I can't measure it, or Instagram or LinkedIn, whichever one it is. And they go, but I don't really know if it will work. If the golden rule with any social media channel, the golden rule is be active, you know, because it's just not going to work for you unless you do that. There's a whole lot of things you can do after that. And so very frequently I speak to a person that says, yep, I'm going to do it. And then they do it. And 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks later, I come across them again. I say, oh, how did it go? And they say, oh, Fiona, you never believe it. I got this inquiry. I don't really know where it came from, but often it is because they've actually really ramped up one of their particular social media channels and they've been active on there. And to me, I kind of like, it's like luck. It's a little bit of luck on social media, not entirely luck. Some of it's very much more strategic than that, but it is a bit of luck. But the luck seems to happen when you're prepared, when you've actually got all your balls, you know, your ducks in a row, and you're prepared to meet that opportunity when it arises. And that might not be an entirely strategic thing to say, but that's what I kind of find happens in the digital marketing space. You know, not always, but certainly sometimes. So that's my little bit of a presentation. You got a taste of, I suppose, what we can cover in the digital marketing advisory sessions, but there's a whole lot more, and I'm happy to answer questions.
So thank you for all of you who submitted some questions when you were completing the registration form. What I will do is I'll just run through some of those questions that we've got, but if you have any other questions, please feel free to put them through. And secondly, what services do you offer and what are the costs? So each of our advisors are available through the Southern Business Mentoring Program. So businesses within Onkaparinga, Holdfast Bay and Marion Council areas are all eligible for one free consultation with each of our 8 advisors. We have other streams as well. So we can send you that information. Once you have had an appointment with your advisors, you are welcome to engage them professionally beyond that, and obviously they have their own rates. So once you've had your meeting, you know, feel free to discuss engaging them privately, but I guess that's a conversation for you to have with each of the individual advisors. So one of the first questions that we received, I'll paste it into the chat as a help for the advisors, but how to combine my skill set into a profitable and workable online and face-to-face business. So I guess that is, how do I ascertain how to start a business with something that I feel like I'm good at? Would anyone like to take that question?
So I'm going to answer this question about combining skill sets into a profitable and workable online a little bit through my own experience, and I think what Amanda said, and Martin might have said it as well, I'm sure they both did sometime, you know, what you're unique at, what makes you good at solving the problem. I think, Amanda, you talked about solving the problem and what makes people good. So, for example, when I'm not doing business advisory with the City of Marion and Onkaparinga and Holdfast Bay, my main business is as a website developer and digital marketing. So that's what I do in my own business, right? And one of the skill sets that I discovered that I had along the way was that I can seem to communicate the technical down to, you know, not being so technical. And most website developers, you know, not all of them, but most of them, they don't really have that communication in their skill set. And so I realized that, you know, there was this little skill set that I had that actually was quite interesting, and so I now promote that. And in the first year or two I didn't promote that at all, because I guess I didn't realize what I was sitting on. But in fact, that I think your skill set is what potentially makes you unique or a little bit different, or, you know, and you might be able to use that to either create a product or service that really bounces off your own skill set, because you'll probably enjoy using your own skill set more than you would if you were kind of, you know, using something that you weren't so good at. And also there's probably bound to be, you know, a bunch of people who really appreciate that. So that's my little remark on that.
Yes, I totally agree, Fiona. That's a really good example of matching what you've got with a problem. But I do think that I guess this is I think a little bit differently. Put the problems first. Find the problems, then match up. Well, what have I got that I can bring to the table to solve that problem? And a problem is not always a problem. It could just be a need or a unfulfilled need of some sort. But for example, I'm reaching here now. I need some stuff printed. I've got a problem. I need to get, some invitations printed to, for my son's wedding. How am I going to do that? Well, someone over there has actually got a printing machine. So problem meets solution. Problems first. There's an old saying, let me just put it in another term, an old saying in marketing used to be that this is one that doesn't work. If you build it, they will come. So just because you've got a solution doesn't mean there are problems out there that they will solve. I just urge you to think about what are the problems and how can I possibly solve them? Or can I even develop some resources or skills that will help me solve them?
Excellent. Martin, any final thoughts?
Oh, no, I think Amanda got it. Yeah, that was my attack as well. Yeah. Think
Excellent.
about what the customer's problem is first. Yeah.
Great. All right, so the next question, can I please get a feel for the viability of starting your own business in the current climate? So obviously around the pandemic, there is a little bit of uncertainty in the economy and in the climate in general. Is this a good time to be starting a business or not? Maybe we'll start with you, Martin.
For me, yes, it is. I think it's a great time to start a business, provided you can feed your bears, pay your bills. I've seen some great success stories when businesses start in times of adversity, because when you start a business, you're ironing out all your bugs. And then as the market recovers and you've been really pushed and battered and bruised in a tough economic environment, then you're almost market ready as the market strengthens. So that's the first thing. But having said that, there's no point in starting a business if the COVID laws don't allow the customer to interact with you. So, or that all the competitors are facing that same problem or a modified version of that. So I think it all comes back to most business decisions relate around relevance. In other words, relevant to what problem you're trying to solve, what market you're trying to appeal to. Is that market in a position where it can transact with you? Starting in tough times, if you're gutsy, I think it's a good thing.
In regards to you, Fiona, if you have an online business, then there's nothing stopping you from starting in the business now, because everyone's working in the online world at the moment. Hence, we're delivering a webinar right now. So I guess that's a good segue to the next question, which is, how can I move to an online platform? So I guess you covered off on some of those things, Fiona, but setting up your own website, social media, etc.
Yeah, the moving to an online platform, and if we look at the website as being, the online platform that is your first one that you're moving to, which is in most cases what I would be recommending and suggesting, then really you just have to investigate what website. I talked about platforms before. You have to obviously work out what you want on your website, what content, what you're going to say, that front page where the customer, as Martin said, is making that first inquiry. You have to think about what you want on your website. But it is also helpful to think about what platform you want it to be on, because if you're doing it yourself and you spend 30 hours to 100 hours learning a website platform only to realize it's the wrong one, then, you know, it's a lot of and they're usually frustrating hours, then, you know, you find that that's difficult and you have to reinvent that. So research very clearly first what platform you want to be on. Or of course, if you are paying a website developer to do it for you, which is delightful if you can, because they're bound to, in almost all cases, give you a better website than you can do yourself, but you know, you might come up trumps. Then, you know, researching your website developer, it is usually a longer term relationship. Sure, they build the website for you, but in a year's time, they'll be troubleshooting something for you or editing something or adding something new. Don't have to start big. You do not have to have a big website to start. A one-page online presence is absolutely fine. So I would suggest that your first move to the online platform is with your website, and you look at doing some of those things.
Great, thank you, Fiona. Well, it is now 3 o'clock, so we have come to the end of our time. Thank you, everyone, and we look forward to getting in touch with you soon.